You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Ian Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, and streaming live on Ustream. This is AFTERBUZZ TV for Boardwalk Empire. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest Boardwalk Empire news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, picking up where the show leaves off and the buzz continues, it's AFTERBUZZ TV for Boardwalk Empire.
Go ahead, Bethany.
All right. Hello. This is Bethany Jaber. I'm going to be hosting this evening with Kevin and Michelle. And we are into the second episode for Boardwalk Empire. I always feel like the second episode is so much better than the first in any season. Do you guys agree?
I agree. We just dealt with this with Dexter. It was like the first half was just all this expository and catching us up. And I feel Boardwalk did a much more effective job with that. Episode 1, it was much more organic. It flowed, whereas Dexter, it was just so much exposition. And then Dexter got very good, and I don't want to make it about that. But I do agree with you. I think we're in, and story's flowing.
Fireworks are just being sent off in every direction.
Yes.
Nucky is in jail, and his pseudo-wife, they're not married yet. I hope that they do get married. Mrs. Schroeder finds out through her maids that he has been put away. Chalky is in jail, and he looks like he's staying there for a bit of time. And Jimmy is turned loose on New York City because he has aligned himself with the Commodore. So
right, and then even double dealing with Lucky Luciano.
So there's just so much going on.
So much.
In every direction.
Tables have turned. Now it's exactly what I wanted to happen.
Can I just make just a couple of general statements about this? And it's the shows I'm currently doing now is Breaking Bad, Dexter, and this show. And Breaking Bad is my favorite, for all the dramas, my favorite show. But then now that I see this, I realize that they're both equal to me. The difference, Breaking Bad uses all these really bright colors. In this show, colors are very muted, very dark. But I think the essential difference is the writing and the direction both of them are just exquisite. I think the best ever done. But this is the production value here. The production design is just so rich and lavish. This is like, it's incredible. The sets, the costumes.
It's not like I'm huge and big on period dramas, and so I'll watch anything that PBS and the BBC has to offer. But this doesn't even compare.
No.
It's just like fantasy.
It's like
fantasy world.
A whole nother level.
It is
of production.
And so smart, and and having just had done Dexter earlier in the evening, and I do love Dexter. And again, I was a little disappointed with as much expos as we had for the first episode, but once it kicked in, it kicked in. But this show, a lot of comedic undertones with Dexter. So I guess, there's times it does get light, but this show is so smart and so layered. And like with Dexter, a lot of times we were complaining tonight that a lot of the subplots, it feels forced, feels like they're just giving the actors something to do. Maybe they're appeasing the actors. I don't like it when it gets away from Dexter, but with this show, there's nothing I feel as though is taking me out or boring me or making me say, "Ugh, God, let's get this over with so I can get to Nucky." I love Chalky. I love Nucky. I love Jimmy. I love everything I'm seeing. I love the Commodore. I hate to just say gush so much, but I love this show.
No, but it speaks to our intelligence as an audience, because it always makes us ask questions. We never go, "Oh, I know what's going to happen," or "Oh, this character's going to go here." We're always going, "Are you sure? Who's that?
I want to watch every single episode again.
Again, right? No,
because I think I missed something.
I think as AfterBuzz hosts, like we almost by going up, one of the things we're doing in our fall season is we're going to be more strict about going up minutes after we watch the shows. The problem with that is, especially with this show, is we all do need to watch this a second time so we could really give the fans the most accurate breakdown. I mean, between the production design, the symbolism, the lines, the subtext with every line, it's crazy how smart and well thought out this show is. That I can't. We're all like writing notes feverishly, but then you're missing what's going on as well. And again, we're fans. We want to enjoy this experience as well. So it's really hard to come up quick and give our best assessment.
I agree. I know we were going to start with Chalky, but I actually have a question.
Go,
because
please.
I thought it was so interesting because it's on the screen here right now. When Mrs. Schroeder comes down the stairs in the morning, it's the very first shot that we open up on. And she comes down to her maids. And it's the very first time that I feel like I actually see the staff in this household.
I know, yeah.
And such a large staff.
And such a large staff, and all of those girls are Irish. And so it really finally gives her some shape to show where she's come from and the class difference right off the bat. Right.
And how well she's adjusted to this new role.
Yes.
And how she doesn't flinch. She's not at all rattled. She doesn't show. Just a great leader. You can't show the underlings, the lessers, your emotion.
No,
she doesn't.
She doesn't even seem like she's worried.
No,
this is the first time I felt like in this episode. First time I felt like she was like this.
I agree with you. I struggled last season with her character a lot as far as her kind of gaining her wisdom and getting her balls.
Yeah.
Right. Well, she was growing, and we're seeing now she's settling in.
Yeah.
And we've always known that I've always felt there was a sleeping giant within her.
Well, I'm glad because I was worried.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, where is she going? Every episode last season, and I don't mean to backtrack, she had the same arc for like 4 episodes in a row, which was, oh no, I don't know what I'm doing. Poor me.
Like
Who am I
damsel
with?
in distress.
Oh yes, I'm strong. I can make my own decisions. And it just rocked back and forth so much. It's so nice to see the writers take a real leap with her and have her, by the second episode this season, really standing on her own 2 feet and going, okay, he's in jail. I'm taking control of my family. Make sure the kids are all right. Everybody else, please prepare for dinner.
Well, in Irish culture, too, they say the Irish, and I think you hear this from a lot of cultures will boast about their women, but you hear with the Irish women that although they can appear subservient and they can take care of the home and do all these things, they're very, very strong and very strong-willed and very much behind the man in that way where they can run the family if something ever happens. Yeah. And we're seeing this here. And we're seeing she was – but see, I thought I saw last season all these little signs that showed she was smarter, showed she was ambitious.
Yes,
it showed all these things. And now, it's time for her to fill these shoes.
Yeah.
And anyway, I think it's fantastic. But let's talk about one of my favorite characters, Chalky.
Okay.
I mean, a lot was revealed with him today. We see him with his wife. We see what a gentleman with his wife, who they continue to refer to as what, light-skinned.
She did, yes.
Bright-skinned, too.
Bright-skinned, and she was, immediately her voice and her tone and her cadence struck me because she clearly is not from the same background that Chalky is from.
No.
Not by any means. And she also hands her husband a book. And so it just it makes
from the son.
And
he said clearly, I don't want him around here.
Yes.
So we know he has bigger and better plans. He doesn't want the son near this lifestyle, this business.
But I was wondering how much she knew her husband in handing him a book.
Yeah.
Oh, great! See, that's a great catch.
I thought that there was some secret item in it.
At first, I did too.
Where he would get out, and that's why he lied about the title.
When he lied about the title, I thought he was just lying to the other prisoner to just kind of say, I really don't acknowledge you, so I'm just going to throw out Tom Sawyer. And I thought it was just symbolic about the story of Tom Sawyer. And you guys had picked up more accurately that poor Chalky couldn't read.
The director was focusing so much on the book after a while. I agree with you. At first, I was like, oh, he's just joking around with him. But they were focusing so much on it that I went, oh God, no, he can't. He can't read.
See, I thought that it was some really smart metaphor that David Copperfield is.
Well, there
is
wasn't.
deceived.
I'm sure the writers were doing the metaphor. Now, okay, here's where I'm.
See, I didn't get that.
By the way, I can tell you probably any TV show back to the 50s and most movies, but something has to give when you know that much in that area. So what gave for me was reading. So I don't know. You guys tell me about David Copperfield. There's no way the writers would put that in there if it didn't symbolically pay off.
I mean, I don't. All I know that it's by Dickens.
It was Dickens.
Yeah, it's Dickens, and I can't. I'm not.
Well, and we know the opening.
Dickens fan.
Okay, well we know.
Sorry.
But we know the opening line of the book spoke directly to.
That was great.
Chalky, to Nucky, to everyone. About whether you're going to be a hero in life.
Whether you're going to be your own hero or whether somebody else is going to fill that role for you. And there was that page that was torn out when.
That's interesting. But before we get to it, Jess, can you look up? I'm really surprised because you guys are smarter than me. I can't believe it. But Jess, can you look up David Copperfield, please?
A lot of it is
just the story of David Copperfield and then the story of Tom Sawyer, and get us a little bit about Dickens. But the one page you're talking about, where this other prisoner comes up and is taunting him. Taunting him. And I kept telling you guys, don't worry about Chalky. Didn't I tell you?
I know you did, but I just
say that.
I was like, guys, don't worry about Chalky. This chump is, trust me.
That guy was all talk.
He was big and he was powerful. But you know what? But he was smart enough to know that Chalky couldn't read.
Yeah.
And it was interesting when he finally he's antagonized him, and when he rips that book away. And it's that one page that's left. And what did it say at the bottom of the page?
It said,
here we go. I know it said, I am living in captivity. Or
I am.
Here we go.
So poignant.
It was
fallen into captivity.
There we go.
I've fallen into.
And so speaks volumes. Obviously, Nucky has fallen into captivity, but we know it means more about slavery. Yeah. I mean, there's just so many layers to this. And the wife's insulted, and he lets that go. But when that book is ripped away, it's the son's book. But I think more than that, it speaks to education. It speaks to all the things Chalky probably wishes his people aren't. And that's just the last straw. And then he goes around the room and introduces our thug.
It's such a sign of power to not lead. I mean, he could have done that hours ago. And he chose not to.
Didn't have to.
Nope.
Yes.
He didn't have to play those cards.
Always the people with the most power never have to brag about it.
Right.
They just have it.
They just have it.
It's so true.
Yeah.
You always find the nicest people at the top sometimes.
Exactly.
Right, because they don't have to.
Because they don't
it's all the other people that you weed through.
All the bums in the middle that are insecure and
all the driving you nuts.
And those are the people you try. Listen, here's a little AfterBuzz TV lesson. I always tell everyone here, just talk to the people at the top. Don't deal with the idiots in the middle. They're in the middle for a reason. Few of those, some of those people in the middle will get to the top, and if you get lucky enough to get them, you'll be fine. But the general idiots in the middle are there because that's where they choose to be. They don't have the vision or the foresight to get any further, and therefore you don't really want to be talking to them or doing business with them. So
I agree with you completely.
Well, you want to get right to Chalky, and you want to get to Nucky. You want to deal with them.
And that's it. And just don't do and. Is it okay if we move over to the other cronies?
Because we got to see Chalky be amazing, kick-ass. Unfortunately, it seems like he's got a bit of a haul in jail, but we're gonna need him. Nucky, I'm telling you, later on is gonna need him.
He's going to need him. But I just wanted to bridge that because all of the people in the middle between the Commodore and Nucky, those are all of those middle guys.
That's right.
That are just causing a fuss and making a ruckus, and they can't make a decision without each other.
No.
And
Jimmy, is destined, I think, to be at the top, but right now, he's in the middle, and he's doing a lot of dealing. I mean, he went to Rothstein and Lucky Luciano to make a deal with them. He gets nowhere with Rothstein. By the way, the actor who plays Rothstein is fantastic.
Yes, he's amazing.
And he handled it in a way I thought that was exactly what you'd see with that guy.
Yeah.
And I will keep it all confidential and,
Yeah.
which is there's almost like a frightening melody to how he speaks.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm never quite sure what way he's going to go.
He's a very smart businessman.
He's shrewd.
And he's shrewd, and he knows, like, he lets Luciano kind of, I think, do all the dirty work.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Jimmy's no Nucky, especially when that guy, when he's put up to it in comparison, Rothstein is being his scary self, and Jimmy is looking down and looking kind of insecure. I thought in comparison.
He didn't know. Yeah, he was just like confused, and it was like, okay, you can leave now.
Yeah.
And it was
It was one of the first times I feel like I've seen Jimmy be confused.
He was confused, right?
He's always so bold.
Now he's on his own.
He always has these I feel like he's working with brash colors.
Mm-hmm.
That he's like, what? I'll take you anytime. Which is why I find him so sexy.
I was gonna say it probably has something to do with his attractive.
And I remember last season you were cheering for him over Nucky, and I'm like, nope, you're betting on the wrong horse.
I think history
I'm telling
tells us that I'm betting on the wrong horse.
First episode, obviously he's really attractive, but this is weird. But Steve Buscemi, to me, is now so attractive. He got more and more attractive over last season. Wow. I know.
He's an anti-hero. He's fantastic.
And now I love him.
But, I love, again, this speaks to the writing. So many of these great lines, and they all mean something. Rothstein said to him, that's you're kind of putting the cart before the horse.
Yes.
And he had said it in reference to something else, but to me, the deeper meaning is you're getting ahead of yourself trying to take over, kid.
Yes.
Yes. And he looks at him directly, and I think he says a couple of times, "Who are you?
Who are you?" And
I mean, and it is a big universal, like metaphysical question that we're asking.
Who are you?
But I mean,
who are you to come and do this? I mean, the answer is I'm the Commodore's son.
Yeah.
That's what the answer is to make sense to Rothstein.
Yeah.
That's who I am, and that's why I have the power to be this bold.
And he doesn't have to be anyone's assistant or right-hand man.
Right. Who are you?
But Rothstein so easily points out, he's like, you don't have the years behind you.
Right.
Last year you were in just, like a bum's clothes.
But he's poking at him. But this is why Rothstein's so brilliant. He's looking at him. He's to me, it seemed like he's looking for a reaction. He got what he needed out of him, which is information, and he can send Luciano to make the deal with him. So if there's any problems, it's on Lucky. It's not on Rothstein.
Yep, absolutely.
It can be on him.
I was wondering when they opened that shot, because they opened that shot very tight on Jimmy. And at first,
you loved it.
I also loved it. But at first I thought he was reciting that in a mirror.
I thought
because it
was
so
too.
It was the way he was. I guess the insecurity in which he was speaking. Right. And then when they pulled back and revealed that he was actually in Rothstein's office, I was surprised.
It's his first step out of the nest, Yeah. So, and that was a really big meeting for him. And of course, it leads to him getting jumped by two people from
the Lower East Side.
Yes, that are from Mustache Pete.
And I'm
while standing in front of Temperance.
I can't wait to go home and Google all that information.
Well, I was saying to you guys, I feel like this guy Benny with the funny laugh. I feel like he's a true figure in history, and he's so young that he probably graduates to do something crazy in like the 50s. I think
that would make sense.
I really enjoy that. I enjoy the fact that there's a Lucky Luciano, a Rothstein. I bet you this Benny guy, in that firm that's there. I wonder how historically accurate, and I can't wait to again if we didn't go up so fast all the time. And I was saying to Michelle before we went up, I was like, we got to get Phil to get us some iPads on the table here.
I just got one. Yana got it for my birthday.
Yeah,
so
we have to. So one of us can be like doing the research.
In mine too.
Unless you want to buy us all iPads.
Yeah,
then
we can do that.
We got. That's what I said. Let's talk to Phil.
We can have an iPad giveaway too on AfterBuzz.
I find it interesting that they introduce heroin into their conversation.
Again, and I was saying to you, so much of, I think the writer's very conscious of making things relatable to today. Gentlemen, we're entering into the technology age. That was the information age. That was from Rothstein last year, which I think was speaking to us. And I feel like this era is a callback to the bling era, you know, which was in the 90s. And I feel like the heroin is what has crippled the 90s was, heroin became the new,
It crippled Harlem.
Yeah.
It destroyed it.
I actually
it destroyed
watched
most
this,
of New York, but
Right.
but it's
I watched this really intense episode, not a Boardwalk Empire, this really intense documentary about heroin. And it's really interesting because I think that a lot of this is going to be so historically accurate to how heroin came to be here.
I find it interesting that when you look at who's controlling whatever substance it is that they're leaking into their neighborhood, I would find it very hard to believe that the Italian Americans would allow heroin into their neighborhoods. And if you,
I mean, they say the early gangsters didn't want it,
yes,
but then it was, and you saw it in The Godfather. But then it became about, well, we'll just do it in the black neighborhoods.
and that's what happened.
And and then of course it seeps out and just becomes a nightmare for everybody.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that they're scratching that surface, and of course, once they got into drugs and heroin, then it really just went wild and more violent and more crazy.
It's
anyway, just
it's almost like you can. I feel like they're just giving us a glimpse on somebody about to press the button.
Yeah.
And let the cat out, just let all mayhem loose. And it's interesting to see how those things transpire. Like how somebody went, oh, you know what? I'll sell you heroin and you sell me your alcohol. And you're like, no, stop.
Yeah, stop.
Don't do it.
Don't.
Just please don't do it.
Don't.
They have no idea.
Yeah, but hopefully we'll have some more information for y'all next week about Benny and the Lower East Side guys if they come into the third episode, because I'm very, very curious.
He said, it was interesting, just again, the writing, buy me a pound of Halby. What the heck? And he's like, I have a sweet tooth, a sudden sweet tooth. He sent the guy Benny out. And to me, it was, I don't know what Halby is, but it seems like a candy or something, or a dessert.
Teeth.
It will rot your teeth, but guess what? Heroin rots your teeth. It to me was like symbolic of a little smack, and a little sweet tooth and a little quick high and a buzz. And
he had a craving.
So it's symbolic of that heroin coming in, but also those characters may be predisposed to drugs later. This guy, so we'll find out.
The brash way, like on a whim, these people are so powerful they could get whatever they want. So if that includes heroin, whatever else comes into the mix,
just
they have no fear.
candy store, right?
Yes.
Take your candy and
yes.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
I mean,
it's
just want to tell the public, this is a hard show to host. There's so much stuff.
There is so much stuff.
It's
but
rich.
It's come on, Game of Thrones. That is a hard show to host.
I watched my first episode of that today.
Was it? It's hard.
It's hard. It's really hard. But actually, I'm ready for it because I'm on book 4 now. Because I've just kind of. I've dove into the world of it, but it's clearly a fantasy book.
It's fantasy. See, but to me, why I love this show is because they give you everything. And when you go to fantasy, you get so much more license to do things.
You do.
And you see when shows go fantasy, sometimes things have meaning and sometimes they don't. And they're able to just kind of get away with it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh no, that's the show. And why I find like these writers are amazing is because it's not fantasy.
Yeah.
It's this his somewhat historical docudrama, and they have all the stuff that they have, the symbolism and whatnot, does tie to something. All these subplots do support the main plot in an amazing way, and so that's why for me it's like. I think it's harder to do this write this show than it is to write Lost or Game of Thrones. I think this is harder because Lost was like, and not to make this about Lost, but I see some of those other shows and you have such license that you can do all this kind of fantastic stuff.
In there
are magical elements,
right?
to it.
And this is you are in this box.
And you know what? At the same time, it's funny. The truth illuminated, it's so much more interesting.
I feel
than the
right.
stuff that you can make up.
Agree. Anyway, but
although I occasionally do like to watch dragons. I mean,
oh no, I totally get that.
Love dragons.
I get the dragons.
We all love dragons.
I do love dragons and magical
dinosaurs
and princesses with long
princesses
blonde hair.
are great.
And knights.
Yes,
I like knights too. But let's go back to Nucky in the jail with Chalky. They're both sitting there.
Just that first scene.
And he's I find it so ironic that he's counseling him in a jail cell.
But you know what? I think it's great for them because they're together. Mm-hmm. They're having a cigarette together, and it's like we're at ground zero, the two of them. And there's a it gets them on the same page, and it's like we're in this together, you know.
But it's sorry to interrupt
no,
you,
but
ahead,
please.
especially after last week's episode, where Nucky is really on his pedestal preaching to two different groups of people. He sits down with the black population and is like, and this is not happening. We will condemn them. We will fine them. And then he goes and does exactly the opposite. And so now he's finally in the same place with Chalky in a jail, like you said, on even ground. Level. And there was something so satisfying about that.
It was great. and to see him even helping the Irish people over, you know, to the early signs of the IRA, you know, to be sending money over to help the poor Irish. So it's almost, you wonder if him being a poor Irishman himself, I'm sure at heart. Yeah. It's interesting, you know, that I feel him and Chalky are going to have to work together, and he's going to need Chalky to help him. And it's almost like going to his roots. It's going to be less of the waspy stuff, and it's going to be more about the blacks and the poor Irish. And it was very interesting when he met the representative from Ireland.
Yes.
He's like, that's a Protestant name.
Yeah, that was exactly what he said. Mr. McGargle or something.
Oh, really?
I think that was his
really,
name.
really Irish
name. Mr. Slater. Yeah, but Mr. McGargle was yeah, I guess very Protestant. I haven't had many encounters with it.
Well, no, he was
Catholic.
He's Catholic.
Yes,
yeah, no, the English
okay.
would represent the Protestants.
I get confused.
And I think Nucky had the Protestant name, and I think it's kind of helped him to play all sides. Yeah. But maybe now he's going to be painted more into really his grassroots. He's going to have to maybe count on the Irish, maybe count on the minorities, because now it's like, what's the Commodore? It looks like a complete wasp.
Yeah. Amazingly so.
So it's and of course the KKK, same thing.
Oh yeah.
You could see the KKK. I could see working very well with the Commodore.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I don't want to jump around too much.
No, it's okay.
But how amazing was when the brother, and we'll get into talking about Nucky's brother, but when Nucky's brother is introduced to the Commodore's people, almost
Eli.
like this secret society. Eli.
Yes. Did you see that close up was amazing.
First thought was
closing up on Eli, where they open the doors and they reveal to him who has been really controlling the city.
It's almost like the secret circle. But did you notice that that the guy, especially the guy with the white sideburns and beard? It was
mutton chops.
It was very 19th century. We're in the 20s.
It was almost as if they stepped out of a painting.
Yes.
Well, they looked creepy.
They were so old that I'm sure their heyday was probably in the mid to late 1800s. And especially that one guy showed that, and it was very much.
Was he speaking
Russian?
He Latin? No, I thought it was Latin.
Latin.
Yeah, he was, and it was like some type of hello and welcome to the circle of whatever.
It was very.
That's
Phil, what's the group
I'm
that
not
Tyler's
be a translator.
Part of
Masons. Freemasons.
Yeah, it was almost right. I wonder if it was like the Freemasons.
Maybe.
In Boston, every time I tried to go in that building, it was closed. I think they just closed it because I came up.
There's one over in Los Feliz. You can go drive over there and I think check it out. They have a temple. I'm fascinated. I'll watch anything on Freemason history.
Yes.
It'll be like ancient aliens and the Freemasons.
Exactly.
And I'm tuning in.
I know, History Channel. Here I am.
I'm there.
But it felt like that. It felt like the Skull and Bones Society. It felt like, and it was like we're Eli. We're letting you into the inner circle, and there's Eli in all his insecure best. Now finally out of the monkey suit that he always wears, the deputy suit, and now he's in this gray suit. Doesn't look comfortable in it. It doesn't even fit him or look as good as say Nucky suits do.
He looks nothing like them in any way.
Nothing.
He's almost like a deer in headlights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he walks, and it's like to me, it's like his first step into hell.
Yeah, I would agree.
And Nucky gave him a chance and said, "Listen."
I know. Let's talk about that phone call. Oh my God.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. It almost brought me to tears.
Yeah, it was so.
It was so moving,
intense.
and because he said there's.
He would have let him off the hook.
Yeah,
I know. He's such like.
It reminds me of someone I know that was in a position very similar and did the same thing and said, "You know what?" To a brother, it doesn't have to go this way. Saul
and
could
you
be
were
fixed.
Nucky in that situation.
Yeah. No.
The guy I know was Nucky in that situation.
But
But I know it could be fixed. And nope.
minute.
And the jealous, insecure, angry one. No, it's just nope.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay fully committed.
That wins.
And I'm gonna win and F you. And
it's so Cain and Abel.
Yep.
I feel like this happens more with men than women. Is that?
Yeah, you said
would
that.
Would you say that's accurate?
And that's true. I feel like, well, in that nature, in that phone conversation.
I think to go to that extreme, yes. I think the women probably have the rivalries, but they just kind of pick at each other.
Well, it's the rivalries are obviously everywhere, but it's more, I feel like, of a coming back and forth. Like the door's not closed as much as people betray each other a lot. I don't know exactly what it is.
You
no,
have
I think it's the guy thing with the
twin.
testosterone.
Can you possibly imagine
having
that conversation with her?
And the conflict that we have had feels like a part of me is like tearing out.
Yeah.
It feels awful.
Like, for instance, she was supposed to host Dexter and then at the last minute canceled. And I know that just tore you to shreds, right?
It did.
It just tore you up inside.
It did tear me to shreds. Every time.
If I may.
What?
Oh, God.
Dexter was the number 5 podcast, and it hadn't even aired yet.
It had, I know.
What the hell?
Right.
But
that's
she missed
why
it.
I'm mad.
She had some business that.
But hey, let's get Boardwalk Empire number 1.
Working girl. What can you say?
But it was a very powerful scene. Eli's clearly chosen. I'm gonna be with this team, and I feel like it was he's just a pawn to these guys, and he's taken his first step. I feel into hell, and I don't see much good ahead, and we'll have to hope that Nucky forgives him, and I don't think he will.
But if he goes, if his character expires, I'm not all that attached to him, to be honest. Like there are certain characters in this.
So if he dies, you mean?
Yeah.
Like he almost died that one time, and I was like,
okay, you could die.
No, I liked him around at that time because Nucky. I'm rooting for Nucky, Nucky needed a strong arm. It's interesting. This Slater character, who's clearly a ladies' man, but I feel like he may be the new strong arm for Nucky.
Yes.
There will be conflicts, like sexual tension between him and Mrs. Schroeder, but. Initially, I feel like he's going to be the one, and we see it with him fixing the rug, and also I'm gonna clearing the path for
Oh, look at that,
Mr.
bit
McGonagall.
of symbolism. I like
right,
that.
and so you see like that's what he does.
He's very handsome. He appears to be very witty,
very flirty.
And I'm hoping that Mrs. Schroeder, kind of keeps it together. And stays with Nucky because that's. Let's later
have the help. He can flirt with the
I
maids.
think that's where it's going.
Nucky's supporting you and your kids, and I know he's old, but you got a good thing.
Got a good thing going. I hope I don't want to see too much out of the maid.
Yeah.
I don't really need any.
No, me neither.
More like
I don't care about her.
We have so many great characters, you guys.
I know.
And
I feel like that was just to give Mrs. Schroeder shape this week.
Yeah, and to show the parallels between where she came from, and fine if as long as it's just there to support. But I like the new characters that come in that are historically accurate or based on something I think is interesting. But we still, in the weeks to come, we've got Al Capone, we've got Van Alden's wife, Van Alden's mistress, just great characters. That anyway, so
that we need to see more of.
Yes.
We didn't see any of them this week.
And also, I realized what was so different about this episode. I didn't see one prostitute.
You didn't see one prostitute this episode.
I never knew that was prevalent in these.
You know what? You're right.
I notice it every time.
Yeah,
usually in Chicago, you see them because the location is the brothel must be where they do their business with Capone and them.
Every time when they had their party at that place with the boat in it. I mean,
Yeah,
just
Nucky
randomly
has
they
some-
show up because
They're
everyone has a
usually-
mistress.
Yep, everybody has a mistress.
Has a mistress,
but it was
yeah.
not.
It was a great
no,
time.
So-
Today
and
was.
this-
I no.
It's
Oh,
a
sorry,
great
sorry to
era.
interrupt you. I felt
No,
like
no,
it was.
go.
Today was about realigning your alliances, realigning your alliances.
Yes.
Because at the very end of the episode, Mrs. Schroeder and Nucky kind of go toe to toe, and he's like, "The book, it's gone. The money, it's gone."
And you know, I
love
I
it.
thought she was going to hang on to the money.
I did too.
I thought they're going to play it that way, but I love how they played it. That she was
took it.
a loyal partner, and she was smart enough to get the money and save him, and she just was really focused. You need to think straight.
That was gorgeous.
No,
Yeah.
see there.
Your enemies are about you right now, and
Right.
you can't get all emotional. You need to absolutely get it together, and that was beautiful. I
So-
was like,
Amazing.
"Look at you,
Yeah,
Mrs.
that's-
Schroeder."
I know the theme of this episode for that, and I always notice the women characters in it is empowerment because she has been empowered. The maids
Yes.
were empowered to be more like her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All during the time of the right to vote and stuff like that, which is just great.
Yes, I know. I love how they put that in. And then Chalky's wife handing him a book, like
Right.
from the women, like very comforting at the beginning. She was comforting with
Smart,
the book.
strong.
And
Nurturing.
Mrs. Schroeder comforting with, I mean, she was like, "You need to go to bed. Just
Right.
go to sleep." And I love
Come up to our
how
bed,
they're
she
on
said.
this-
bed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I was like, yeah, there we go. I love how she is like, knows what's up now.
I love
She's
it.
like, we're on the same level. Just don't worry about it. I took the stuff.
I know, and he
Relax.
kind of looks at her in awe, like, "Oh, one thing went right in my day, and that was making the choice to."
And
be
by the
with
way,
you."
how great was her look of relief when he came in the room?
Oh, I know.
So he's, when she's, I mean, she did a great job. Obviously, she went back. She tricked the authorities into getting the ledger, getting his money. Then she was strong, kept the household going, didn't show any weakness to the staff, showed no weakness to the guests, conducted the dinner, and as this like Irish Catholic extreme guy is there, kind of taking shots at her. I don't eat things with hooves, and and he's poking, and she's kind of holding her own. In comes Nucky, and her face is just like, thank God, I've like held this guy off long enough, and
Yes.
and Nucky just takes right over it. No, we do nothing until I eat, which was great. So this guy
Yeah.
was all about not eating. He's like, well, good, you sit there and not eat. I'm eating,
Yeah.
bitch. You're in my house,
He really wanted his
Exactly.
money. My goodness.
right?
I know.
Well, and you know what? He spun it around. Nucky
Yeah.
took control of the situation. But what I loved is seeing her face was like, that's the guy I love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, do you guys think that his generosity was based on the fact that his wife is Irish?
No, he's Irish too, isn't he?
Nucky?
Isn't Nucky Irish? Part Irish?
Yeah, he's Irish.
He's Irish, and so- and
As like
yeah.
an immigrant, do you think?
Yeah, so I think there's no way he could go too many generations back. I don't think
Yeah.
the biggest migration of the Italians and Irish was
He's
was
first
around the
generation.
20s. So I think that it's definitely, and we've seen too many meetings with them in kilts and doing like
Yeah.
the like St. Patrick's Day last year was very big for them.
Huge.
So so I think he's pretty loyal to the cause, and again, it's that's more power he needs and will use.
I'm curious what the Valentine's Day tie-in was here. I'm missing. I
was the
missed a lot of
first-
the symbolism in all of that. I mean, like it just.
I think
don't
it's
know.
like, first of all, I didn't realize it was Valentine's Day until that note. And it made sense because someone else said something about like you being my Valentine or something.
I don't know. I'm just curious.
Well, you know what I'm curious
Appreciation?
about, and
Yeah.
again, is it was Valentine's very big back then. It probably existed, but
Yeah.
if it wasn't that big, I love the idea that it was very small here.
Yeah.
It was very
Yeah.
small. It was just it wasn't it wasn't a big event. It wasn't a very big day.
No.
It's just a day that happened, and he forgot to sign the card, and she's like, I knew they were from you.
Oh, loyalty. Loyalty.
Right.
Oh,
Valentine's
there
Day.
we go.
This is why-
Lovely. We've come full circle.
And it
loyalty.
speaks to what you guys said about women. It's like that was the both Chalky and Nucky's women were with them,
Yeah.
and none of our villains had women in their corner. And the only one that Jimmy really has in his corner is his mom. But I think the mom in the end is going to be more loyal to Nucky because she is probably bitter toward the Commodore and not loyal to him. And I think at the end of the day, she's going to be loyal to Nucky.
No.
Jimmy's mom.
I have one last question for you guys. What is up with the Commodore dyeing his hair?
He wants to be, he's taking power again. He's dyeing his hair. He showed he could lift that giant tusk. And by the way, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. Again, great symbolism. His room filled with what? Trophies of all these animals he's killed. And you want to be the one with a gun and not you don't want to be the bear. You want to be the guy with the shotgun. So this is a guy like with such a chip on his shoulder, so much into power, such a bully, and clearly like thinks he's superior and sees the blacks, the Irish as the animals. Yeah. And he is the Grand Master. He's the, and this is how he sees himself. And this is how his little entourage, that secret circle or whatever, they clearly see themselves. And we're just all pawns and trophies. We're nothing. We're game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Eat or be eaten.
Yeah. That's it. And so, he's having this, I know he's past midlife, but it seems like a midlife crisis where it's like, no, now that the poison's out of his body and he's back in control and we're taking back over and la-da-da-da-da. It's interesting when Nucky said, was the people that are in the room with me now, he knew it was like, so the mayor came but no one else showed up. And he said, okay, well, that's it.
That's it. He's got one.
And they're the only ones who are going to be spared.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because it looks like, there they are.
Good job, man.
We're
in studio. We're looking
right now.
Look at the screen of him drinking too, and look at the face as he drinks.
The Golden Girls.
I'm telling you, drinking to. I'm telling you, it's just like the drink to his death.
Oh my God, he looked like he was about to die.
That's it. That's his last step. Interesting.
I can't think of anything else. I mean, there's so much more. I feel like if I went home on my computer, I could come up with a million.
Yeah, we all
things.
have to do. Let's do our research. We'll come back next week. And why don't we go to commercial and then we'll do predictions.
Love it.
Want to find out what the AfterBuzz is about?
Janice is a drama queen.
This is the divide that is going to carry the series.
Give us a call. 424-256-1729. 424-256-1729.
It's television, and they want it to be as dramatic as possible.
I mean, it's Shakespearean.
You never know what goes on behind closed doors.
Find out why AfterBuzz TV is the #1 source for after-show content.
Now, in the eyes of Jimmy, Nucky is a villain.
424-256-1729. 424-256-1729.
I mean, who would you guys rather hear that from? Your husband or your best friend?
The wig will come out.
When the TV show is over, get your AfterBuzz on.
So, Jesse, did we find out what David Copperfield? And I'm so embarrassing that we don't know this.
As far as what it's about, it's basically a story about a boy who lives in the UK, and his father died before he was born, and it's just about his journey into manhood.
This isn't the one with Pip?
No.
Okay.
Oh, it's okay that we don't know it.
But it's from England, so we have the battle between the Irish and the English, right?
True.
And then it's a journey into manhood,
and also claiming
which is
space.
Jimmy claiming space. Is Jimmy right? Is making his move into manhood. We see Lucky Luciano making his move into manhood. We have Chalky questioning what kind of man he's ended up to be. Nucky questioning, and Chalky's son.
Yeah.
I don't want him to come into manhood, see me in jail. I want I want him playing piano. I want him to be educated. Phil, is there anything else that you can think of? He can't hear me. I was saying, Phil, is there anything else you can think of because you know Copperfield?
I did not hear any of the conversation that you guys had.
That's good. All right, put me back on with Jesse.
It's okay.
So Tom Sawyer, Jesse, right?
All American.
Right?
Tom Sawyer is the connection between a white young boy and a slave, and their journey down the Mississippi River, and what their friendship means, and what they encounter on their journey.
So that's probably Nucky and Chalky.
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
and that's very much Tom Sawyer. But you know what? Honestly, we shouldn't feel bad about Dickens because it wasn't like I don't know if you all went to public school, but it wasn't like infused into a lot of our literature.
No, I can only speak to the movies.
But we got Tom
and Tom Sawyer.
We definitely got that.
I can remember the Disney movies, but other than that, no.
Yeah, I really don't remember it being like part of like the syllabus.
I remember a lot of Charles Dickens. But
do you?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, listen, no, but we got it. I mean, I think I don't think this is going any deeper than that. But again, I think that's just great writing. It's great work, and you see it throughout the show. So, what are we thinking for next week?
My goodness, it looks like it's really gonna hit the fan between like Nucky and everybody else who's against him. Okay, this is I'm being a little girly, but I'm just hoping that Jimmy doesn't get hurt.
Oh goodness.
Not girly. He's way too attractive to get hurt.
That's all. That's all I'm hoping for. Is that Jimmy's okay.
I wonder if because Jimmy is clearly a character we all like.
Yeah.
He's very likable. I wonder if he's not going to. Is there a chance you think he could still go back to Nucky's side at some point?
Absolutely.
Yes, especially after last episode with
you want
gifts.
that, or do you see that?
I think if anybody can, I think brothers can forgive each other, and I think maybe
he's
brothers
more father
can,
and
but
son.
father and son can forgive each other. I'm just looking at all the different links, but I think if anybody can forgive anyone, father and son can forgive each other. I would vote for that. Because people do horrible things in the world, but they still love their children.
Right. You never get over that.
No.
Yeah, their relationship, I feel like it can be fixed.
And and the Commodore, I mean, like I think when Jimmy clears his head, I feel like the Commodore was the one that is the bad dad.
Yes. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Not Nucky.
And Nucky said that last week. He said he's a very was it questionable or formidable, or he said something saying that
Reaper.
He switches sides a lot, so watch out for the Commodore. And Jimmy just kind of nodded his head and actually didn't say. Last episode was fascinating with Jimmy because he didn't say a lot as far as dialogue, but he said so much by not speaking at all.
He's absorbing it all.
Yeah.
And we're going to see Van Alden back.
Yes.
And we're going to see Van Alden's mistress, who's becoming a problem for him.
Oh, I was going to say I have a prediction.
Go ahead.
I think that he's going to kill her.
And and I think he's going to take the baby and bring it to his wife because his wife really wants a baby, right?
Oh, my God.
See?
Yeah, it's a great prediction.
Yeah.
God, I could see that. I could see that happening.
She's a dangerous one, that pause.
Yeah. You know what? She's a loose end.
Yeah, she is.
She's a loose end. You gotta take her out.
Yeah, if she's on your set, I don't know.
You have to take her out. You know, it's funny. We're looking at the scene where the Irishman came up, and you guys were all surprised that he actually had another drink after he said no more.
And you said something fabulous.
What did I say?
You said you were like, of course, he's celebrating. He got his money.
And it's a big part of the Irish culture.
Yeah. And
it's a drink.
Like, Irish love to drink.
But you gotta win.
And he was all business and and all serious, and then he got what he wanted, and so actually I'll have another drink.
Yeah.
And you'd see Nucky's face. He's like, get out of my house, will you?
I know, seriously.
I gave you your money.
Yeah,
go.
no, beat it. But I don't know. Anyway, you guys, it's a great show. I think and I'm so glad with Breaking Bad ending. Next week we will have this to take us through. And if you're listening this week, Phil, we're going to be at the John Lovitz Comedy Club doing the Breaking Bad series finale up at Universal City, Universal City Walk at the John Lovitz Comedy Club, October 9th.
That's a fun place.
We'll watch at 7:00 Pacific Standard Time, and at a little after 8 we'll go up and we'll do our after show live in front of a live studio audience, and we are talking with AMC, and because we're putting this together so fast, we're hoping it's enough time to get the cast. I know AMC is very excited.
That's great.
To bring it up, and and if it goes well, Who knows? We could do it for Boardwalk and some of the other shows, which
I would love that. We can go to New York and interview them.
Yes.
That's where they are.
So true.
They're hanging out in
New York and Chicago and Atlantic City.
I know, I'm crazy.
Let's go
By the
there.
way, where do they shoot this?
They do. They shoot it in.
This is a New York studio?
I want to say Silver Cup East or West, or maybe at the Brooklyn Yard. But I know that they do shoot in New York.
And you think interior's there as well?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, wow.
I do. It's all Meredith Tucker is the casting woman on this, and she casts. She's like a.
Have you read? You've read for some of these roles?
I haven't read for them, not yet.
I was going to say, I can't believe you didn't go out for Jimmy's wife.
Well, we look. Maybe if her sister shows up, I can get an episode.
Can you do an Irish accent?
No, I can't do an Irish accent.
Gotta work on that.
I gotta work on that. I can do an Italian one.
As you know, and I was wrapping this up, but I can't believe the production value. I cannot believe how much is put into this show.
Steve Buscemi
They're spending a fortune on this.
He gets $75 an episode.
75 grand.
Yeah, $75 an episode, and that's just his salary. And I can't imagine the set pieces and
I'll tell you, I'm surprised because HBO doesn't usually give much.
No.
And again, when you're talking about the cast of Friends getting $1 million an episode, it's not a lot. Because considering the fact he only does 12 episodes and not 22. Yeah. And I'm sure a network gets paid more. It's actually not a lot of money, but for HBO, which I've heard just pays so little.
Really?
Oh my goodness, yeah, no,
Yeah.
and a lot of the cable
HBO, Showtime, Stars.
Their budgets seem.
It's just because they know the actors want it for the critical acclaim.
Yeah, want to be.
I mean, your whole career will be made afterwards.
That's so true.
Yeah, I have so many opinions about this, but when you do ask for such a huge salary, it does take away from the other elements of production.
It does.
The other actors who are just supporting, whether they're guest stars, they're co-stars, even if they're series regulars, it does take away from their pay cuts. It takes away from your props. It takes away from everything. If you're asking,
Doug Ellen says with Entourage,
for the large amount.
Yeah. With Entourage, really, Doug Ellen said he regrets that early on when the actors didn't make a lot, he didn't do more episodes.
Yeah,
he's like, because at the end he wanted to do more, but because the actors were making so much money, couldn't afford it.
You're really taking away from everybody else when you demand so much money.
Yeah.
You can
point?
find me saying this when I'm asking for a lot.
You know what? Listen, Beth, you know why? I feel like I'm one of the better people to say it because I'm on the management end.
Yeah.
Okay? So I'd be the one saying, give me a ton of money, and I say no. If it's a good show, if it's critically acclaimed, just get in the game, be amazing at it, get a fair deal, but no, the money will come in other projects. These actors are so respected. They'll always work. The actors from Breaking Bad, the actors from Mad Men, if they want to, they'll always work because you just get such respect and such critical acclaim on these shows.
I agree. And then you look at the quality of this in the production value, and you're like, oh my God. When you watch something on Showtime or Stars or HBO, I mean,
especially HBO.
It's one of the reasons why we tune in,
right?
Because Game of Thrones. If you look at the set pieces,
crazy, right?
And the design behind that, it blows your mind. But it's why we watch them. So
when I watch like the AMC shows like Breaking Bad, the production is incredible, but it's much more of them being resourceful, finding locations that the colors match, and I love what they do with it. But they're actually sewing costumes and building sets for this, which it's such an undertaking, and even when I saw John Adams, I just was like, how the heck do you monetize this? You show it once, okay, so you satisfy your subscribers, I guess, and then I know you hope you sell it on. Make enough money in DVD sales of the series, but I mean, it's my.
I don't know.
And I just hope it doesn't price us out of this where we only can have a few seasons. Like I know Deadwood got priced out, but Deadwood didn't have as big a following as this.
Anyone who loves what they do would probably do this for less money. I think. I mean, anyone who loves what they do and happen to be working
I'm sure
on
they
this,
do. I'm sure they do. Plus, when you have the luxury of such a big cast, any one of these people, but Nucky, but Steve Buscemi walks out, you're okay.
Yeah,
you'll survive. After that, I'd say Jimmy.
Yeah.
But after that, we would, as fans, we'd be a little bummed, but the series would survive.
Yeah.
And don't believe me, they know that's by design too. They don't have to depend on them,
No,
so
it's not
more
like
what I
a
worry about it.
4-piece ensemble.
It's more the sets and the costumes and all those things.
The antiques and the pieces. I mean, some of those
crazy.
you're just like,
They
where
probably
did you
swung
get
by
them?
the Smithsonian, borrowed some stuff.
I just hope, I hope it keeps going. And I think what we have going for us is the fact it's got a huge fan following. It's produced by Wahlberg.
Yes.
And Tim Van Patten's, he's an HBO sweetheart as far as the director goes. So I think we're okay.
All right. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening.
Yes, we will be back next week, and hopefully we'll have more answers, right?
I hope so.
From producers Kevin Undergaro and Phil Svitek, engineer DJ Jesse Janity, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. If you have questions or comments, be sure to buzz us at info@AfterBuzzTV.com. And you can find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.